his evidence of his spy car, anti-cop car with all the surveillance information in it, indicates that this individual has used this kind of technology to record events, and there's no reason for me to believe that he may be doing that also in a car across the street or just in his person. So I need that 500-foot barrier.
He's an Air Force pilot who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now he's based in Texas, where he found he had to pass through checkpoints all the time.
There's no way to leave the border town without going through a checkpoint.
The checkpoint he had to pass through most often is 67 miles from the border.
I started to feel like I was asking permission to leave that town. I'm just traveling in the United States. I haven't crossed any borders, and I didn't really like that feeling.
So he installed cameras in his car.
Because I wanted to be able to prove the truth of events.
This is frightening, strange stuff. I've never had to deal with this in my own personal life. And so I'm very concerned about the weapons, and especially the car. If he is willing to go to the effort to bulletproof his glass and put body armor in his car and smoke screens, and then electrify door handles, as I said in my statement, that is a premeditated force of action thing that's meant to injure, harm, or do worse to an individual. And he's doing it as Veterans Against Police Abuse, his obsession about being targeted by law enforcement.
So this is electrified.
Yeah.
It does feel weird.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So if a cop tries to, like, open the door.
Yeah, if he's trying to jimmy.
Are you reading the Constitution?
Yeah.
Open the door. And then you just get this really uncomfortable shock.
You might just keep him to stay away from the door handles or something.
That's awesome. That's incredible. Can you get into the smoke screen?
I never plan on using the smoke screen. It's really just a toy for, to make the car more interesting, to get people talking about it, so that I can direct their attention to the cameras, because the cameras are what matter.
Yeah. And also the necessity to film police.
Exactly. You've got to be able to prove the truth of events. So the smoke screen's just a toy, but
well, Richard, from Veterans Against Police Abuse, he's an active serving military person, and he's been the subject of police abuse in the past. That's why he founded Veterans Against Police Abuse. They came together and they said, most police abuse happens in the car, so maybe we should focus on the car first, and then we can move on. So what would we want in a car? Well, first of all, you want cameras, right? You want microphones. Okay. And you want the information stored off the car. So they went ahead and they built this car, and it's a beautiful car. I saw it over at the Police Accountability Summit. Now, I'm not talking beauty as being, red with awesome wheels. It's very plain, kind of sporty looking, but the beauty in it is the protection it offers. And when I say protection, I'm really not talking about the protection of having bulletproof glass or, armor-plated doors and body panels and all that. And he said that's a little excessive, I know, but...
Rynearson is the founder of Veterans Against Police Abuse, an organization dedicated to strengthening the constitutional guarantees for all Americans through public education, creative enterprise, and legislative reform. Were your experiences as a military veteran a factor in founding Veterans Against Police Abuse?
Certainly, the oath that I took to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that resonated with me. And it's not just because I took the oath, but more importantly, it's because I really value the oath. I'm not a doctor of history or anything along those lines, but I have read from the founders, and I have looked into world history, and I understand that liberty is not something that grows on trees. This is something very special that we have, at least the chance to have a country that recognizes our freedoms and our liberties, and that is something that I want to continue, because obviously I want to live in a free nation. I want my friends and my family to live in a free nation, and also because I want to honor the sacrifices of veterans that have come before us that have given so much to defend that liberty. And when I say veterans, I mean military veterans, but I also mean veterans of the civil rights movement. People like Martin Luther King and countless others who suffered fire hoses and death and beatings, to advance the cause of liberty.
Now, tell us about the car. What kind of car is it? It's a Mitsubishi Eclipse. What are some of the features you've added? Tell us about it.
Okay. It's armored. It's bulletproof. That's kind of fancy. That's not something that we really push a whole lot. Most people aren't going to be able to just go pick up an armoring package for their vehicle. But it does make the vehicle interesting, and it allows us to talk about the surveillance systems that are inside. And those are the things that Americans can take and implement themselves.
Now, I don't know if I've introduced Rick. He's from the Veterans Against Police Abuse. And there was quite a lively discussion on the Glock forum recently when some police officer found his video and obfuscated or altered the name of your organization and turned it into the Veterans Against Police, I believe it was. And, man, some of the stuff that was said in that thread, I couldn't believe I was hearing police talking. Like children.
Yeah, it was really pretty irresponsible. Up until I had joined their forum to defend myself, these guys they didn't know anything about me except that I, was from a group, Veterans Against Police Abuse, and that I had put some defensive surveillance, camera systems in my car. And based on that alone, the language that came from these people, accusing me of being a nut job and a wacko and, the next movie theater, mass murderer, all kinds of stuff. And it's just kind of shocking. It's like they equate, you taking your life into your own hand by defending it, being a responsible American to look out for yourself and your family. It seems like they equate that to being crazy. As if to say that there are no police that lie, like that never happens, which of course we know isn't the case. It does happen, and it has devastating effects when it does. So I was a little shocked at the irresponsibility in the language.
Yeah, I was definitely taken back.
Okay. Now, Rick Rynearson has a spy car, and it's I'm not even sure I would call it that. I mean, it's kind of like, protect me from cops lying car. That's what it is. But and we have so much experience with this. And
another one on the other side. Or if you wanted to mount it on there, you can get the interior of your car. My lawsuit against the Border Patrol, it's up on YouTube. You just Google military officer and Border Patrol. You'll see me in that video. That was recorded with an older version of ADR. So you can see it's really good. It does a really good job. The other thing with the ADR...
So yeah, we're out here at the Police Accountability Summit Peaceful Streets Project's putting on down in Austin, and we're just hearing from Rick, who founded Veterans Against Police Abuse. He outfitted his car with, I don't even know how many cameras he just went over, probably like 10 or 12 cameras, at least 6 audio recording places. It streams, it records to a DVR in the car as well. Lots of redundancies, and it's probably the best vehicle setup I've ever seen, so pretty awesome. I'll try to get another interview with him with a high-quality camera and chop that up, put it online. So be on the lookout, and more to come from the Police Accountability Summit.
Now, the surveillance, of course, is there mostly to protect myself against unlawful law enforcement agents. I've had 2 bad experiences. I have 2 lawsuits. I've seen a culture that I think is just absolutely rife with abuse, and we have a lot of challenges.
So I think, obviously I'm not law enforcement, but I think, good law enforcement officers, and they are certainly out there, and we have to always remember that, they're going to have the same view that any good American will, which is that we need to, do our jobs and protect the public as we're paid to do, while also preserving their liberties and protecting their liberties in accordance with the Constitution and in accordance with the law. They do. So I think the association thing, you can't judge an individual based on it. And it is a group, the military or the police, there are good cops and there are good military folks, and I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with being a public servant. Now, when they choose, evidence suggests otherwise, then we should hold them accountable. When you have oppressive laws, and when you have the government peering in everybody's bedroom or regulating what they eat or ingest in their body, when you have this pressure, it's going to make people, uncomfortable. And some people are going to lose their minds, unfortunately, like that guy who ran over the vehicles. I don't know his backstory, and, if it was about having a bag of pot, then I think it's unfortunate that, he's had problems with that. But that doesn't justify, of course, vandalizing sick, pieces of public property. Violence or destruction. That's not the answer. And you're right, though. We do need to have a dialogue because we need people on both sides of the issue who are concerned with America. To figure this out, because we don't want the bad cops on their side, making the situation worse because they don't value America, they don't value the rule of law, and we need people on our side, who are just regular, tax-paying citizens who, go off the deep end because they also don't value the rule of law. It's one thing to be wrong, it's another thing to do wrong because you were wronged, So,
Rick, if you wouldn't mind suggesting to our listeners, what are some basic thing or apps or anything like that or techniques for when you have an interaction with a police officer holding them accountable or filming it or things like that? Like what are any advice you would give?
And as far as advice goes, I would say know the law, don't break the law, and realize that if you do break the law, whether it's speeding or running a stoplight or whatever, and law enforcement gets in your world, well, that's what they're expected to do. So you got to realize, you got to have some humility and realize whether you like it or not, if you're breaking the law and they're doing their job, then that's the way it's supposed to work. So know the laws and then and don't break them. And then if it's the officer who's breaking the law, as happens all the time, then you got to be able to video record it and prove the truth of events.